Alrighty, I've hit the start streaming button. I'm just gonna wait a second, make sure the audio's coming through. Um, let's have a listen. Streaming button. Yep, that's that was it. Alright, cool. So I don't have anything really planned for this, so I don't know how smooth this is gonna go. This might end up being just a total disaster, but um, if if you didn't know, basically I just very recently released a update for Trash Quest that adds a whole bunch of extra content, extra bosses, and new abilities and stuff like that. And so what I thought I would do is just do a stream where I kind of play through like the base game and the new content. Because this is kind of like my plan from pretty close to the start was to release like make something and get it to a releasable state, and then after I had it released, make like some form of extra content, whether that was just a boss rush mode or a couple of extra challenge levels, and it ended up being a bit bigger than that in the end. But yeah, this was kind of like the plan from the start. Now I've kind of gotten to the end of what my plan was for this game, um, and so this is kind of like a post mortem, I guess. It's a thing that people do after they make games. Maybe it's a little too early um, for a post-mortem yet, but that's kind of what this is. But anyway, I'm just gonna play through the game, and yeah, just kind of chat about things that are happening along the way. So this is it. One of the things that I had wanted to do with this game is to make it so that there's no like menu you need to look at all the key bindings. It's just um, whatever you're using, like whatever you need to access will just be on the screen whenever you need to learn that that's the thing you need to do. And when I use this kind of symbol, where instead of putting the A button or the X button, I just use its positional um, data to kind of display that, so that it would work across Xbox or like a PS4 controller or whatever. And also you don't have to think about like, oh, the X button, where is that on, if you used to it on, Nintendo, it's in one place, on the Xbox it's somewhere else, and it's just very confusing. So just if you just put the position in, I think I like doing it that way. So these signs I put in fairly late in development. I kind of had this feeling that like there's these separate sections, but there's no real like connecting thread between them. So I kind of figured if I put these up, it might lower the amount of time it takes people to play through the game. But hopefully, while they're playing through, like, they're gonna have more fun playing if they have signposts that kind of show them the way. And even though the amount of time they spend with it might be lower, so it's technically a shorter game, they'll have more fun in that shorter game. This is a room where I had tried, because in this game you don't have to jump off the ground, you can jump in midair. So this was kind of the way I tried to teach the player to do that. Like generally with game dev stuff, you want to try to introduce new ideas in a safe environment, so it would have been better if I could have found a way to introduce this without having the spikes down there, because the spikes will, kill you, which isn't great. But I couldn't think of a way to force the player to jump in midair without having jumped off the platform without having a spike pit. So a spike pit it was. This is a fairly late development, so this is one of the power-ups you can collect, and there were 3 of 2 types and 2 of 1 type, and in the end I found that like one of the rooms that I was using as a shortcut was just a really useless shortcut, and no one was using it, so I took that room out in terms of being a shortcut and put a challenge into it, and I put one extra ability pick up at the end of it. Because, well, now there's 3 lots of 3, you know, power-ups, so it's a lot neater than it was before. It's the first kind of crossroads room, so you've got, you know, left, right, up, and down. So this is where I introduced the idea that there's a map. It's kind of the first room where there's a lot of different ways you can go. So that's what the map looks like now, and you can kind of see it's got the exclamation mark for the bit that we couldn't go to before. There was like, an exit at the top that you need a double jump to get to. You've got a marker for the ability, sorry, not the ability, the power-up that we just passed by, so it's kind of introducing a couple of things. If you go down, you're just met by this door, and in hindsight this is something I wish I had. I wish I'd put more of the doors before the transition, so like some sort of like little mound here, and the door would be like here or something, and so you would see beforehand that you would know you can't get down there yet, rather than what happens for a lot of people when they start playing this game is they go, a new section, and they come down here, and they're immediately confronted with a door, and it's like, okay, well it's not a new section, it's just something I've got to come back to later. So I kind of wished I had put more of the doors before the transition. And I tried to do that a fair bit more in the second section of this game, the one I made after releasing the first bit. So yeah, lessons learned, I guess. This room went through a lot of iterations. The very first version of it had an extra saw kind of going up and down here where I am now, and then it also had, instead of a platform here, it had spikes along the ground, kind of all the way across. So you had to jump down, but then also do a mid-air jump to avoid the spikes. So there was just way too much going on for an early level room. Another example of like, just like you've got a gun, but I only, you know, explain it to the player when you actually need to use it. Ooh. Do I have? There might be some funny business going on with the controller, because I'm definitely not pressing down. Another example of just a blocker. You know, yeah, this is Metrovania, so we have a lot of things. They generally call them ability gates. So like, when you have a certain ability later, you'll be able to come back here and break this crate. Yeah, there's definitely something going on with this controller. I might just like swap it out. See if it keeps working. So let's replug it in. It's still doing it. I'll switch to the Xbox controller. Oh no! I've got the speedrun quick keys on, so I accidentally tapped reset when I dropped the controller. Okay, it won't take me long to get back there. If you've seen anyone speedrun this game, you'll know that like, where I was like barely into the game at all in terms of time. Holy moly. I almost never get top box. I still don't even know if it's like actually useful in runs to top box, but it looks funky, so I like it. So this is an example of a room where it's kind of got 2 paths through it. One path, like you can't inverted commas get across this top way because you don't have a double jump yet. So you've got to go down the bottom way, and then once you get the double jump at the end, you'll be able to go the short way across the top. it's just a kind of way of giving an ability to the player and then showing them like an immediate use for it, where they can you know, get through a section they've been through before. Why am I not double jumping? So they can get through a section they've been through before, but like a lot faster. As you skip across the top here to get out. And this room is like... I like putting stuff like this in. This is kind of like... almost like a practical joke, this room. Because like it looks very complicated. And you've kind of got to think like, oh, you've got to time your jumps down and work your way through down these robots. But like, if you just like hug this right hand side, you can just get all the way to the bottom with no trouble at all. And I had thought that you had to do it quickly, but I think I learned recently you can actually stand on this very edge, and that robot can't even get you. Watch me get proven wrong now, though. Yeah, see, like it's completely safe to stand here. So like you can go almost all the way down without like ever needing to worry about getting touched by one of those robots. So when I made the game jam version of this, there was no power-ups. Like all you got were abilities. So like that's, you know, stuff like the double jump or a hover, you know, like kind of game-changing abilities. But the power-ups are like kind of more incremental stat increases. So you were more powered up to begin with, but then you stayed exactly at that for the entire duration of the game. So when I went about making the Steam version of this, I kind of nerfed the player a fair bit. So I decreased. I kept the health the same because there were other ways to get health back in the game jam version, but I decreased their damage and fire rate, and then put those back in as power-ups that they could collect. And the way that the player was initially scaled was probably like in the middle of where they are now. So by the time you collect about half the power-ups, you'll be about where you were in the game jam version. And then if you keep collecting them, you know, you'll be even more powered up. Alright, so yeah, that's the first one we can collect, is these health ups. So yeah, I've got one extra health now, which is going to help for the bosses. And just general platforming. Sometimes I'll mess that up too. Okay, I kind of thought that platform was going to respawn. I wish I had put like at the same height here, because it kind of just falls straight away and I don't think that feels good, but oh. You know what they say, Libby, so. This is another example of like a time that I kind of like put something in, not necessarily only to troll the players, but like this robot up in the top right here, like when you see stuff like that in the game, you just kind of assume you have to fight it, but you don't. You can just straight away skip up to that platform. I don't know. Initially I had planned for you to fight it, and when I realized you could just jump on the platform, I was like, oh, some people will fight the robot anyway. So this is one of the gimmicks of this game, is that there are no checkpoints. You always start in the very middle. And what I have taking the role of what a checkpoint would normally be doing in a game are these doors. So at the moment we've only really explored the bottom left-hand side of the map. But if you can imagine kind of like this is the bottom left, and then above us, to the right of us, and then above us and to the right, there are other sections, and you're always spawning kind of roughly in the middle. So these doors, when you unlock them, you unlock a different pathway you can be leading out from the center. So it's kind of like a hub and spoke level design, but with a little bit more interconnection between the spokes. And then you go out one spoke, cross to a different spoke, and then if you come back a little, you might find a door you can unlock, so you can go directly down that spoke the next time. So it just means like the more time you spend kind of exploring, the more choices you'll have as you start from the start next time you die. Here's kind of an example of just kind of teasing the player with like what's coming up. It's the first time we're encountering firing enemies, I think. And these enemies, they're firing kind of at like a, it's kind of a random direction. Like they've got a fire direction, but then it like just randomly deviates by a little on an angle from that preset direction. One of the things that I've noticed is like when people play, people really like to assign intention to like inanimate objects. Or I guess in this case they are animate, but like people will assign intention to things that are not always intentional. So like the firing is almost always just random, but people will see that and like sometimes people will see that and think that they're actually firing at the player, or they're tracking them, which they're not. It's just, it is entirely random. This is kind of like a thing I put in. I had hoped when I was making this that I would have more puzzles like this. So like the puzzle here is kind of like these platforms will they'll get destroyed when you jump. So you have to work out how do you get through this with that limitation in place. You kind of got to drop down here, and you can jump up. This is a good example from what I was talking about before, where when you introduce something to a player, you really want to introduce it in a in a safe, non-lethal environment. So in this case here, like if you mess up, you just fall down here, and like nothing happens. You can just jump up and try again, and then you kind of expand on that later by like once you understand you're up here, you can now start putting them over spikes and putting a bit more danger back in. Alright, we'll now head in to fight the first boss now. This game is the first game I've really made that's had bosses. I've tried before and never really kind of gotten the hang of it, but the way I did them for this was slightly different from the way I would normally, or I had been previously trying bosses. And I actually found it a lot more fun doing it this way. Basically, it's just like I have just a collection of pieces, some parts, and then instead of having like AI on the boss, I just have patterns, and the pattern will like play some animation, and that animation has all of the data it needs, like the positions of the limbs and what projectile they're firing, all of that kind of stuff is all baked into the animation, and then the boss just randomly picks from its list of animations. So it's that first like kind of really impactful pick up here, and it allows us to do things like jump onto these platforms that break. Alright, it's time to go exploring the other sections of the game. Okay. I could just die to go back to the start, but I don't know. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that for this playthrough. I can't remember if it was in the very first version I released, but I did make it at one point so that whenever you enter this room, you just get all of your health back. Because one thing that happens is, when you're trying to get across here, like if you miss that jump, you fall into these spikes, then like you've got one less health, you know, and you're so close to that first room that you may as well just like, you know, keep falling into the spikes until you respawn. And so it just felt like, if you can do that, like, what's the point in making the player go through all that? Just, you know, if you come back up here, get all your health back. Alright, so this is... Something about these two jumps. It's so hard to make. There we go. Now, I'm gonna make a fool of myself. Oh! First try, baby. I messed up this room a lot, so I'm really glad I got that. Alrighty, so we've got another power up now, so our fire rate is just a little bit faster than it was before. So if you had gotten the double jump, you would have been able to come here, and you would have been able to actually do all of that room above us as well. But you would have gotten stuck when you got to here. So it's kind of like if you were stuck on that first boss, and you just need a little bit of extra damage, then you would have been able to explore and find that increase speed rate power up. But I don't expect many people will have that experience. I think most people just fight the boss, and sometime later they'll find that power up if they ever do. One of two places I used the regular crates in this game is that room there. I had plans to use more of them, but I just never ended up making any rooms that actually could have used them well. I'd wanted to, I just didn't quite get around to it. This pickup used to be health, and I still keep thinking that it is health. So quite often when I play this, I'll die a couple of times in this room thinking, oh, it's fine, because when I get the health pickup at the end, I'll get all my health back. And then I just don't, because it's not a health pickup, it's a damage pickup. I'm actually playing a little bit better than I thought I would. I thought I was going to be dying a lot more. Because I've been... Like, I hadn't played for a while, and then I have been playing recently, but the levels I have practice on are the new levels, not these ones, so I'm a little bit rusty with these levels. Of course they would fly up. Alright, no, I still have 2 health. I'll be able to get through this, I think. Just in case. This room was a room I spent a lot of time rearranging. It's just... it still could be better. I'm not sure exactly what to do with it, but in terms of just a casual playthrough, it's a bit of a bummer, because finding a gap between the firing when both these robots are both facing away from you is actually quite hard, because, like, you know, there's essentially 4, you know, permutations of their facings, and only in one of those are they both facing away from you. So finding that is a bit frustrating. But, you know, why not? We're just gonna do the speedrun route. That's how you get through that route. This room I kind of wish I'd telegraphed these spikes a little bit better. There's no real way to see them other than by falling into them. And I've tried to avoid falling into blind spikes where I can, but I don't know. Maybe I should just remove them. I don't know. Maybe I will. Those spikes kind of suck. this room is an example of where speedrunners have found a safer way of getting through. So the intended pathway is to go up these one block platforms, and then jump in between those spikes at the very top, and then jump onto the platform to the left. The speedrunners just found that you could just jump underneath that platform, and ends up being a lot safer than trying to land in between those spikes at the top. Getting up here is still difficult though. Alright. See how fast I can get back there. One of the downsides of doing it the way I did with the 0 checkpoints is that when you're at that very last section of the kind of sector that you're exploring, it can take a little while to get back there. Alright, well, we should have full health now though, so if I do touch those spikes once I should be okay. Go over, but just, yeah, look at that. This is the second boss. It's actually in the internal files it's called boss 3 because I made it third. I made a whole different boss to go in this area, but I just realized it didn't fit thematically. So the intended way to fight this boss would just be to fight here, but what people realize, you don't really actually need to fight it. You can just slip in behind here and just wail away at him from behind. You don't even need to fight this guy. What a shame. All those hours spent picking boss patterns just to stand behind him. Alright. This is probably one of the abilities I had like the hardest time conceptualizing how to write a very short, concise explainer for. How do you... I don't know. This is probably the closest I can get to a short explainer. It's just wait, then press a button. And yeah, now you can send out a powered up shot that will actually destroy those crates. Be able to get out through here. This is an example of one of the doors that I was saying earlier that I was trying to bring doors to the earlier side of the boundary between rooms so that you wouldn't go through and then immediately get stuck by a door. This is one I actually moved after the fact to make it so there were fewer doors that were frustrating in that way. Now my intention with this was that you would remember one of the 3 of these that were blocking your path, and any of them will actually send you somewhere interesting. Oh my god, I've done it now. I've reset the whole thing. I've pressed the reset button. Oh, what a fool. Do I have any saves that are like 77? That's not it. That's not it. Oh my god. Rip. Oh man. That's okay. We'll just I will non-commentary like just speedrun to that point. So you'll be able to see how bad I am at running the 100% route of this. man. I do sometimes wish I was a little bit less bad at my own game, but can't always get what we want. Oh gosh. What am I doing? This is horrendous play. I got this first go in the more casual one I was doing earlier. If I can... Nah. Now that they're... There we go. Intentional, by the way. That one wasn't. Gosh darn it. Ooh. I was trying to go for the strat where you slip in between the spikes and the platform, but I got spoofed at the last minute. Oh my goodness. I don't think I could have played that room worse. At the very least I now have an example of, like, how these doors you unlock actually help you. You can just go straight from the spawn room to being straight back here pretty much. Oof, that was rough. Alright. Do I actually try to fight the boss on 2 health? Or do I just let the boss kill me and try and fight it with 4 health? I'm gonna try. I can probably get it on 2 health. Definitely did not need to reset the health that time. Okay, I'm gonna try to spike jump in for this one. I didn't do it last time. I'm gonna try and do it this time. Now that I'm in third comma speed running. Yep. There we go. Holy moly! First try. I don't think I've ever gotten that first try. Well, good thing I stopped to explain it beforehand so that I didn't end up saving as much time as I could have. Rough. Now what? That was about as bad as I could have played that room, I think. No, I mean, I could have played it worse. If I'd taken 1 extra hit, I would have died, so I clearly could have played that worse, but that was not good. Oof. So just for context, in terms of time, I'm right about now is when the current 80% world record would be kind of wrapping up. I think that's Quasi has that. we're like, oh, my thumb is hovering over the reset button. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna turn the quick keys off, because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna accidentally press the reset again if I don't turn those off. Best to just remove all temptations from myself and just not have them at all. So I've proven that I can't be trusted. Oh, I thought that was gonna hit. Praise RNGesus that bullet was pointed down that time. I definitely needed this door last time, so I'm gonna make sure I open it. I feel like we're pretty close to where we were last time. What did I do that for? That was like probably one of the dumbest things I could have done. There we go. I'm just gonna have to take the hit, I think, because yeah, I'm not particularly good at getting that without getting hit. One of the things I did after it was discovered you could slip in behind this guy is I just put a second collider on his backside, so that if you are behind him, he dies a lot quicker. Because, like, if there's an exploit, like, I don't mind leaving it in, but I just think it's not particularly interesting to stand behind him for the entire length it would have taken to kill him at his regular health, you know. So I would rather, you know, expand upon the exploit and make it so that if you know about it, you can just do it faster. Alright. This is where we were before I accidentally pressed the reset button. What I was trying to say before was that now that we have the powered up shot, there's essentially 3 of these crates that you can find and destroy. So there's one to the, obviously to the very left of us. There's one to the very left of the map, the kind of top left corner of the grey section. And then there's 1, 2 rooms beneath us. And each of them is kind of like varying levels of forward progression. One has a power up, one has an ability, and one has the next section of the map, I guess. So I guess my intention with this was that people would, you know, they do whichever they want. Time-wise, it's probably faster to come through here, get this one. And now we have triple jump, so we'll be able to get a fair bit higher. One of the things I like about, if you do that one first, then it means you'll come through here, you'll have like 2 extra jumps more than you had the first time you went through that room, so like you'll really, hopefully, like this whole kind of path to the left at the moment, I think is like coming back through a section you had before with a lot more tools to deal with it, and just being able to kind of skip over a lot of that. Hopefully, things going well, that should give the player a sense of progression. You know, to revisit sections they visited before, but now be able to get through it a lot easier than they were last time. And you know, part of that'll be skill, and part of that'll be, you know, just the extra stats they've got. This is where we get to the section that, you know, it's the crew in their cryopods. People will say to me sometimes, you know, I'll post stuff on Twitter about this game, and they'll be like, "But Frank, where are the horses?" and I'll say to them, look at these cryopods. That's clearly a pair of hooves. That is a cryopod with a horse in it. And then like, yeah, all of these like names, like, you know, I don't get sued by anyone, so there's no like officially licensed names, but all of the name tags are like, you know, it's a hamburger. What's a famous hamburger? It's a Big Mac. It's a pretty famous hamburger. Or you know, actually, Rang is probably a bit of a an esoteric one to have started out with, because that's like a Australian slang for a redhead person, and another like slang for a redhead person is a carrot top. So like, you know, it's just like all of these rooms are just filled with like little puns and references. Smilesy is kind of like a cheery person. If a person was cheerful, they might smile a lot. Yeah. Anyway, I think this room is like the first room that like you would really cotton on to what's going on, because like there's almost no subterfuge here with Scootaloo. That's just, it just is what it is, you know. So like, I hope I would, you know, not get sued by anyone, but I think if Hasbro found, you know, issue, if they took issue with it, then they have a lot more money than I do in terms of lawyers, so. This, by the way, here is like an example of introducing a player to a concept in a non-lethal environment. So like we kind of fall off here and then do 3 jumps to get up. And then like later on we'll find that there's a section where you do that, but with spike bits. Posthumulus is one of my favorite puns that I did for this. So it's like, like a cumulus is like a cloud, and pursue means to chase. So, yeah, that's what that pun is. I just like I love these puns, and I don't know. They're very hard to see, so sometimes I have to point them out myself if I want anyone to actually take note of them. Other than Brightstar, they've been playing through, and I always enjoy the reactions to like when the kind of light bulb goes on and the names fall into place. I really enjoy that. Anyway, jump through here. This is an example of like this room right here is a room that exists just to kind of give you the power up. So it was meant to be harder than the rooms beneath us, but the speedrunners got to it and they realized, oh, it's actually easier and more consistent to just go that top route each time. It's faster and die less. But now I do that too. Oof. Alright, well. Yeah, and here's the room where you gotta use that principle from before of falling and then jumping 3 times to get through. But there's more stakes. This is the princess room, by the way. No one calls it that, but this is the princess room. There are things in this game like where I have like, you know, words for things that you know, I'll always think of them as that. Like there's a skip in it that Navin found by mistake, and I always think of that as Navin skip. And when when people found it inside you, I was really happy, but like I still don't think anyone calls it Navin skip but me. And the same with this room. This is the princess room, and will always be the princess room in my heart, even if no one calls it the princess room. This is a boss that gets skipped in the 20% run. Because, as it turns out, you just straight up don't need the ability that this boss is blocking to finish the game. As a designer, I would have hoped that, you know, all of my entirely necessary abilities would have been, you know, necessary, but can't always get what you want to. Anyway, so in here we get this ability, where before, when we were hovering before, it would just kind of lock us in place, whereas now we can move while we're hovering, which opens up a lot of possibilities, but in terms of actually designing levels, kind of breaks the game, which is why I have to give it to you last, because, like, if you can just sail right over the platforms, you don't need to jump on them, and this is a game about jumping on platforms, so what have I done to myself by introducing an ability that just lets you not do that? But there's something to do with it, like this section through here where you kind of gotta hover at the right distance from the ground to get through these spikes. Oh, the very last one too. Ironically enough, I think that very last one is probably one of the easier in this section. There we go. These power-ups, by the way, are entirely optional. Like, you can finish the game without collecting any of the power-ups. You only need the abilities to finish the game. But the reason I'm going through and collecting all of them is because the intention from my end is to finish the base game and then go on to all of the new content that I just released yesterday. And all of the new content, I've balanced it around you having all of the power-ups from the first section. So I don't want to make life hard on myself, so I'm just going to collect all of them. For the longest time, this section through here was actually two separate rooms. And it wasn't on purpose, I just kept forgetting to update the scene transition triggers so that they considered this whole section a single room. And I would see it and I would think, oh, that's not the way it's meant to be, and I would just forget about it though. I think I realized relatively recently that you can get to the end of this without actually touching the third platform. I'll try this time, but no promises. I do need to touch the second platform though, so that was not. Oh, okay. Oh, so close. Alright, now let's do it properly. I'm gonna stop trying for that tricky strat. Tricky strats of people with full health. Alrighty. So this room that we're in here, this used to be a shortcut, but because no one was using it as a shortcut, and it was essentially like just a very... Oh my word. Anisian has sent me some eyes. Yeah, but because no one was using it as a shortcut, like there was no point, it was just dead space, like wasted space. And one of the ideas with this is like there's very little actual wasted space on this map. It's all really compact and close together, so if there was going to be dead space, I didn't want that at all. So I converted this section into, yeah, like this. It's a new power-up that wasn't in the very first release version of this game. But now it is. It's one of the harder ones, because of course it has to be. You can't put new content into the game and have it not be hard. But a first try though, so it can't be that hard. Yeah, so this is where it starts actually kind of living up to the bullet hell tag on the Steam page. I can't remember the cycle for this. I think that like I so rarely get to this point of the speedrun, so I'm just bad at the cycle, so I just end up killing them. It takes a little bit extra time, but you know, get it done. Alright. There we go. Who? I don't know, man. Remember that time that, we... Hey, Noteworthy. Were you around when I was talking about Nav and Skip earlier? Anyway. This is probably the hardest. I'm gonna die a couple of times this one, because it is probably the hardest room in the base game. Nice. Oh, heck yeah. Second try, baby. Well, I'm glad you were around when I was talking about Nav and Skip, because I want it to become a thing, but still no one talks about it, other than me. Oh, that was close. I almost didn't make that one. Oh. Okay. I just went and died anyway. I thought I was so clever. I was gonna get it first go. Yeah, I just got too cocky that one. I just let go too early. Yeah, this boss is like not a hard fight if you have all the upgrades. It's essentially like just like just gotta do it, but it's not really a challenge. Alrighty, so that should be, if I've programmed the game correctly, that should be the trigger to unlock all of the new content, is killing this boss. So if we're at 100%, so I should be powered up enough for it. So if I reload this file, oh yeah, of course, because I have the boss checkpoint triggered. Okay, if I reload this file again, should put us back at the very start, and we should be able to go up to this section here. And you might have noticed when I went through past this before, there was a door here, and that door is now gone. And we're able to take a trip over to a whole new section. So everything from this point on is the new stuff, the stuff I released a couple of days ago. If you haven't played the update yet, and you like want to avoid spoilers, because there will be like a little bit of spoilers coming up, I understand. I mean, I love the company, but I do have to put out a spoiler. So I think these first couple of rooms are actually probably maybe a little bit harder than they needed to be. They're less hard than they were a couple of days ago. I pulled their difficulty down just a little bit, but I don't think they're like crazy. They're not unreasonable, but they are harder than a lot of the base game. I essentially wanted the difficulty level of this game to be roughly in line with the harder of the challenge rooms for most of this section of the game. Alright, I've lost the cycle. I'm just gonna start from the. I'm just gonna restart the cycle. Oh, just immediately into the spikes. Anyway, that's a tip for you if you're playing one of these games of mine. Is that quite often, if you just like reset the room cycle and then hold a direction, you'll often be okay. Because I tend to try and especially for this half of the game, I've tried to make it so those cycles line up with your entry. I dropped too low. How foolish of me. So you're gonna see my play drop dramatically because this whole section is a lot harder than the first section. Alright. And this is your last chance to duck out before spoilers. Alright. Well, everyone's here. You might notice something about this wall next to me, and that's that it has a different texture than everything around it. And the reason for that is, it doesn't actually exist as a wall. It's just decoration. We can just walk straight through it. Oh, that was actually pretty tight. I nearly missed that one. This door here is kind of useless. It existed from an earlier layout where you actually had to come back through this section to get to a later section of the game, and having this door made it a lot shorter. But as it is now, it just, after you unlock this door, it's just one room, and then you're at the boss. So like, I don't know, man. It is what it is. I'm not gonna take the door out, because like, I don't see any reason to do that, but you know. And this is the first of the new bosses. I won't attack it to speak with, I'll just let it run through some of its attack cycles. So one of the ideas with this boss was actually very neat. One each of its attack cycles just straight up. Thank you, Orange Jesus. Yeah, so one of the things I was trying to do with this boss and a lot of the bosses in this new section is find a way to make them kind of incorporate the terrain as well. So with this one, you've just got this small platform in the middle with spikes on either side, and a lot of what it's trying to do is trying to get you to kind of put yourself into these like kind of precarious positions out, you know, not over that platform, so you're kind of weaving in and out of this safe zone, and that was the idea behind a lot of the attacks of this boss. Alright, I'll actually fight it now. Practice fighting this boss. One of the later abilities, so kind of lost my muscle memory for it a little bit, but we'll see if I can get through it without losing this last bit of health. Theoretically, with that attack, you should be able to just stay on the very left-hand side and just kind of hover there until he goes back, and you'll be able to get a few more hits in. But it's not a particularly safe strat, so I think So close. Oh! Come on, man. Just... Oh, no! I swear to God. Ah, there we go. Do I not have that achievement? Have I somehow gotten all the way through without actually unlocking that? Oh my word. It's a person with a real name. Hello, Carl. What's going on, man? You been visit any nice Coles recently? As a joke, because Carl and I go to the same Coles, but we've never actually met there. I just need you all to have that context so you know why I'm joking about Coles. So this is the first of the new abilities in the DLC. It is... It's OP, to be honest. Like, it's... it has so much, like, distance that it covers. But to compensate for that, I made it take up 2 energy pips, so... just... Thanks. Thanks. I tried really hard not to die, so I appreciate that. I appreciate you noticing that. Oh man, this must be delayed a lot more than I thought it was. I feel like I was joking about Coles like ages ago, but oh heck, I actually kind of need to go to Coles sometime tonight. I'm not sure if I'll get time. I might have to go tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, so you go really high, but yeah, I made it take up 2 energy to do that, because otherwise, like, the amount of ability you would have would just be wild. And this, I put these here because, like, it kind of became a thing in the first section where, like, speedrunners would get to the thing, they'd collect the ability, and they would just, like, originally they would quit out of the game and then reload it to get back to the start. And I put in a button to make that easier, but then for the non-speedrunners I just kind of wanted to do the same thing, so anytime you pick up the ability, now in this second section of the game, I put the teleporter in that will take you back to this first section. So yeah, it's like a quick way to get back to the start without having to kind of retread your footsteps. And a lot of the sections in this are a lot more linear in terms of you can only go through them one way, so it was a bit more necessary to put something like that in. I'm gonna go back down here actually, and go to this room to get some health back, because I am not healthy. This room is one we can't get through yet. Can't go that way. So all we can do is go up. So these turrets are new in this version. I was trying to get like a slightly different feel. Or not maybe not feel, that wasn't necessarily my intention, but I was trying to at least bring some new types of content. I didn't really want to make new enemies, so I just wanted to make a different type of like environmental hazard. And you know, with the enemies, like, it kind of makes sense, they're kind of a bit wobbly, so they have bad aim, whereas these turrets are more direct, so it's a way of kind of having an environmental hazard that is kind of straight down the line and doesn't have any variance, so you can kind of always count on those turrets to have the same trajectory, where you can't really count on the enemies to do that. This room, by the way, is just like Cheese City. You can just hold the hover and get across most of this room. I'm gonna do it the hard way though, because I don't think it's particularly interesting. See, that's the way I initially had the tendency to go through. I realized a bit late in the game that, oh yeah, that ability exists that you can just like, fly all the way across. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, like where like abilities like that kind of make it harder to design levels that are interesting to play, because if you can just skate across it, like why even bother engaging with the content? This is another one. It's a bit easy to miss, but there's actually a path in the top left over here, so we can go use our new ability to reach that. That's right, I can't actually reach that. I'm gonna die a couple of times to this. But hopefully we'll just have to deal with that. Oh. Well. Did I unlock the door? I'm gonna double check I unlocked that door. I can't even remember. Okay, I did. Thank goodness. I really don't want to like, oh, how foolish am I? Okay. I've got one chance. And I get on that one chance all the way back. Oh, actually no, this is bad. Oh! 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 That was tight. That was very close to not getting it. Anyway. Okay, we've got it now. And thankfully the health pickups give you all your health back, so... this is another one where I've kind of just like put it in a sneaky path. Like, you can fight these guys if you want, but you can also just like, immediately jump up here and... Like, nothing will hit you if you just do that. there are ways of getting through without really having to... Lock the doorway, so if we do actually die in the next 2 rooms, we'll be able to get back here a bit easier. Why did I jump there? I know I don't have to jump there. This room is a bit random. I would have liked it if it was a little bit less random in terms of how much damage you take, but it is what it is. Oh, I actually came really close. To no hitting this room, and I just took 2 really silly hits at the very end. Alright, so this is the second new boss. It is... I don't know, like, I consider this one to be the easiest of the new set, but I have seen some people maybe not... I don't know, like, it's got a couple of gimmicks, and once you work those out, then it's not that hard. But one thing I did do, because it was significantly easier before the last lot of playtesting, before I had Theta play it. Shout out to Theta, by the way, if he ever gets around to watching this stream, because he ran through and he playtested all the new bosses and stuff, and very, very valuable insights in terms of the balance, because I'm really bad at telling that kind of stuff. Anyway, the thing I did to make this guy harder is just he just does double damage, you know. So if you come in here with 4 health, you can only take 2 hits. It's another example of how can I play your game? It's on Steam. If you search Trash Quest on Steam, you'll find it. It's actually in the description of, it should be in the description of this video. I hope I put it in the description. I tried to edit the description before I started. So yeah, this boss is another example of trying to kind of use the environment. So you've kind of got 2 safe platforms on either side, and a platform in the middle where he's standing, and then not particularly safe pits, but when he does that attack from above, those pits become the safest place to be. So you've kind of got to... Again, it's kind of like trying to put the player in these kind of like temporarily perilous positions. And also those bombs have a bit of a blast radius, so you need to be watching. And thematically that fits. Like, I wanted this guy to have bombs. It happened again where the boss I had first made to be the second boss, and his build didn't quite thematically fit. And then I moved them to a later position. That was... Did I take 1 damage? 2 damage done. I just must have not been watching. No problems, man. What was I saying? Yeah, so like thematically he fits. I wanted a boss that kind of had these bombs, and you'll see why when I do finally get around to beating him. What just happens? You can just kind of stand still. Beat the boss, and there'll be good stuff for you at the other end. So yeah, if you now, before like when you send out a charge shot, it would only just do a little bit extra damage, whereas now it'll do more damage and it'll have a blast radius. So the boxes we couldn't get past before, very similar to these current ones, you'll be able to shoot them with the bombs, and away you go. So we're kind of heading into the last section of the new content now. Almost messed that one up. Let's just get the timing right. So I ran out of horse puns in the first game. I punned all the horses that I had wanted to pun, and so all of the crew members in this version of the ship are just the ships I like. So what you'll find conspicuously missing from this section, there is no apple dash, and that's because Rare Jack is truth, and I will never concede that point. And I ran out of horse ships almost immediately, so now we've got some Gravity Falls, Steven Universe one up there. The idea behind this room here was it was intended to be a... Oh no! That Apple Dash stands in... Apple Dash stands in the comments. No! You need to accept the truth that Rare Jack is the top tier Applejack ship. I don't know if I finished my thought from earlier. This room is like just a harder version of the very last room of the first game, or the first section of this game. Oh no, I did too slow and I lost the pattern. And of course, put a bright butter at the end because why not? Top tier ship, to be honest. I think that one goes without saying. The ships in this room are there to start a flame war in the comments, because immediately we can see Marky Len. And I've put Marky Len on this side because I generally prefer Marky Len, but on the other side is Starco. And I guess, you know, we can fight forever about which one of those is better. Anyway, there's a boss here, and that's probably what I should be talking about. This is kind of like again a harder version of an earlier boss, and I just wanted to make something that was like the babysitter from the first game, but a bit more kind of, to be honest, if anything, even more bullet hell. Like, this is kind of like where the game really does live up to the bullet hell tag. Or at least that was the intention, so you get a bit more bullet helly. Let's do this. It would be probably better if I was better at fighting these bosses I made, but... I'm dead. Oh, just straight into the spike pit. A fitting end. So, part of why I wanted to make this, bomb power-up, or bomb ability, I guess, it's an ability more than a power-up, is that, from the very start, like if you... Oof! Spent too long thinking about mechanics, and I just died. But yeah, so from the very... Well, that was foolish of me. From the first version, I included the charge shot ability. And the idea is that, you know, if you... like, it's fairly easy just to, like, death grip fairly easy to just death grip on the fire button, and just hold it down, and then all you're really thinking about is your position. And so part of that charge shot was meant to be, like, I include that so that you need to actually let go of the fire button to have that, the extra damage from the charge shot. Oh, 1 health. Just stop talking. Alright, I'll fight this one 3 times. 3rd time will be the charm. So yeah, by giving you a little bit extra incentive to let go of that charge shot, or to let go of the fire button so you can charge the shot up, hopefully it becomes a bit more enticing, and it puts a little bit more strategy into kind of late game bosses. And you might be thinking, but isn't this the last boss? Why would you be putting in boss specific upgrades if this is the last boss? Well, I guess we'll just have to see about that, won't we? Oh, only a few hits. Yeah, the stuff. Alrighty, so that's the end of the main content. But what we have now is, each time we defeat one of those bosses, one of the doors that used to be here has gone away. So now we have a whole section that's kind of over this way, are like practice rooms. So you have these individual rooms where you can come and practice fighting one of the bosses if you want. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. And we go back to here where we first came in. This is like, to get to the full proper ending, you've got to fight through the boss rush mode. So I think it's, at least, you know, the idea behind this is, you know, this boss, from the very start of the game, it's not a particularly hard boss now. Now that you've, like, played the rest of the game, this guy shouldn't really pose much of a challenge. But, you know, if you then have to fight each other boss in succession, every mistake you make kind of carries through. So you don't just have to beat the boss, you have to beat the boss with enough health left to beat every other boss that's waiting for you. Also, I fixed the exploit. I wasn't... like, I'm happy to leave an exploit in where it exists, but if I'm putting that content in other sections of the game, I'm gonna fix the exploit. So you can't cheese the twins anymore. really works if you actually jump over the boss. I think I came in here with 3 health. I'm actually healthier now than when I started. I had kind of thought, oh, I only have 4 health, but it'll be fine, because, like, I only have 3 health, it's fine, I'll die pretty quickly. But now I have more health than I did before. So, I am death gripping though, I should try to avoid that. So with these bombs, they're good in that you can actually get a bit of damage onto them if you don't directly hit the boss. Like that splash damage will hurt them. But if you do manage to directly hit them, they'll take the direct hit damage, plus they'll take the splash damage, so you can get a lot of extra damage onto these bosses by like, correctly timing these charged shots. After 5, I'm 2 health higher than I started. This guy is like not a particularly easy boss to fight in the boss rush mode because, like, just in regular play, the fact that he does 2 damage isn't that bad. But when you're trying to like be as healthy as you can be to go into the last boss, 2 damage is a lot of damage to take. Well, I will be honest with you, I did not think I was going to get to the last boss, the first pass through. But here we are, so all we can do is see what happens. Yeah, that attack was a lot harder to dodge in the first iteration of the boss. Because instead of going once each per side and alternating, it would just do both sides at once at the same speed, so it's kind of double the projectiles heading towards you. Oh heck yeah, baby. Peace signs in the air. First try on the boss rush. Again, I was really not expecting that. I think that might even be world record for... Yeah, that's a new high score for the full ending of the game. And I started with 4 health. Actually, I think it was 3. Anyway, the wild thing is now, because we have like extra abilities and stuff, we can just walk back out of here. Oh. Oh no, I accidentally triggered the doors on that one. Whoops. I'll just use the save files. Yeah, I'll load this. I'll show you the... I won't do them like in succession, but I'll show you the other thing that's been added in this version. So, if we just fight this guy here, like he's not technically the base version, because he has higher health to account for how much more damage you're doing than you do at the very start of the game. But, you know, he's not super healthy. His attacks are not super hard to avoid. But if we go back up and destroy one of these boxes, that activates hard mode. And now his attacks are much more hard to avoid. There's a much bigger spread on those. He'll do more shots when he does that. I think they're more random as well from memory. And he fires that a lot more when he does these kind of horizontal attacks. And each... Yeah, each boss has like a hard variant. So let's try... So let's just die first, because I need help. Activate hard mode. Yeah, so hard mode will... It activates whenever you destroy any of those boxes, and it only goes away when you die. So, if you go from one hard mode boss to the other without dying, then hard mode will stay active. But yeah, you can see here, like, it's a lot tighter in between these shots. This one is like single shots instead of clusters, so they're actually a fair bit harder to avoid because they don't have the same big gaps. And the transitions between attacks are a lot faster, so you don't get as much time in between the attacks to get your shots in. That's the idea, at least, with this version of the boss. And this shot is a bit tighter, I think, so there's less chance of slipping between it. And he also shoots further out from the edges of the platform. So if you're trying to sneak back in quickly, that's going to be harder to do with this version of the boss. There you go. So yeah, each boss in the new version, so all of the base set and then all of the new ones all have a hard mode variant. And then if you're really wanting a challenge, you can activate this hard mode and then do the whole boss rush in hard mode, which I still haven't done. Like, it's theoretically possible. I've beaten all of the bosses individually on hard mode, but I haven't gotten to the end of the hard mode boss rush. I will do that at one day. Maybe I'll stream it when I get around to doing it, but it's hard. It's hard. But yeah, there's no achievement for it. I was gonna make an achievement for it, but I was chatting with Vader about that, and he's someone who had the perspective of someone who what the heck was that? I feel like something just fell over here. But... oh, yeah, he is coming from the perspective of someone who 100%'s a lot of the Steam games achievement-wise, and I just didn't really have that perspective myself. So after talking with him, it was kind of like, yeah, it felt. I should probably not put in an achievement for something that is so hard. It would just be demoralizing for people that knew they couldn't get it, and they'd be less likely to go for the other achievements. Which, yeah, is not a perspective that I have, but I can really see where he's coming from. I would prefer not to, demoralize people from going for the other achievements, so you do get something for it. Like, there's a leaderboard for the hard mode boss rush. That's why when you activate hard mode, it resets the timer in this top corner here. It's because there's a leaderboard that's just for from when you activate hard mode to when you get to the end of the boss rush. So far, no one is on that leaderboard yet, as far as I know. But it exists, and that's what you get for getting to the end of hard mode boss rush. And that's pretty much it. That's the game, and that's probably time for me to go and start making dinner, I think. So thanks for coming along. everyone that was here, everyone's watching later. Hope you enjoyed it. Alrighty. Peace, y'all. Catch you around next time. Oh yeah, go buy my game on Steam. It's fairly cheap. I'm gonna put the price up soon because of all the new content, but anyone that has it at the current price will get all the new content included at that price. Alright, peace y'all. I'll see you later. The link is in the description.